The Flow State Collective.
G'day, mate. Back in Australia.
Australia.
Yeah. Missed a couple of years because of COVID, but you're back every year?
Yeah, I was trying to make it an annual thing. And, I was here when the first confirmed COVID case happened in Brisbane.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was leaving the country, actually. I was heading to New Zealand. And yeah, that was the beginning of my 3-year break from Australia. So it's over. I'm back. I'm going to make it an annual thing again, starting now.
Yeah. And you just came off off the back of a double golds win at Worlds.
Master Worlds. Yeah, we don't call it Worlds.
Oh, okay.
We don't call it Worlds.
Why don't we do that? Or just because it's not?
The Master Worlds is not the Worlds. These are the Master Worlds is the Master Worlds. That's what it's called. It's actually called World Masters. But the Worlds is for the adults, and that is in May or June.
Yep.
And we should be very careful not to mix the two, although many individuals like the ambiguity between the two because they want to feel like they truly are a black belt world champion. But hey, guess what? You're not. You're not. You're not a black belt world champion because you win the Masters. You are the Masters world champion, and that is that. And that is what I am. I did not win the Worlds. I won the Masters.
1 week of... Oh, sorry, you're going to say something?
No, well, I mean, it kind of happens in all fight sports, right? Regardless whether it's grappling, boxing, mixed martial arts. It's the entertainment sport industry, I like to call it. You know, where you're trying to build a good story for yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
Either run a club, sell instructionals. I think it still means, whether it's Masters or Worlds or not, you've probably fought some tough guys at some point in time, but maybe not the toughest.
It's an admirable achievement.
I think it's an admirable achievement. I agree. And just staying on the mat at 40 plus is an admirable achievement, you know, I mean, I'd love to say our club was full of older guys and girls, but there's a couple of us that are significantly older than everyone else.
Yeah, but if you want to call it something that is not, are you not acknowledging the fact that it's an admirable achievement? It is winning the Master Worlds is admirable. Therefore, you should be proud to say, I won the Master Worlds.
It definitely is.
All right? If you're ashamed to say that you won the Master Worlds, then it's obviously not an admirable achievement.
Yeah. It's just I guess still a world championship.
You're not ashamed of how old you are now, though, are you?
I'm proud of my 41 years of life, and the fact that I'm still chugging along on these mats after 20 plus years of hard grappling.
It's very impressive.
I'm just shocked that I'm not completely broken and sidelined.
Yeah, lucky.
I feel lucky.
And I think the conversation should be possibly that, you know, people who do make it to their 40s and 50s without a significant amount of osteo conditions are probably the outliers.
Yeah.
You know, so we do have to be careful that we're trying to teach our students maybe longevity and athletes.
Yeah, like don't let people wrist lock you. Like don't fight. Don't try to gut out a wrist lock.
Who did that?
This guy.
Yeah, probably for years gutting out wrist locks, but now I have 2 slack wrists, so all the bones have shifted in my wrists, and all of a sudden those rules of don't wrist lock the white belts start to make sense.
Yeah. Wrist locks are the devil anyway.
After 18, 19 years of jiu-jitsu later, you're like, oh, that's why they said don't
do that.
Don't wrist lock the white belts.
Shit.
Well, I used to let people rip on my ankles. I would never want to tap to an ankle lock. I would just let people pull and pull and pull and pull until one day, it exploded.
Yes.
And now I have no tolerance for people pulling on my ankles. So that was a mistake.
The week, so you did World Masters on a week's prep or week's notice?
No, I knew I had signed up like a month or two before, but
why a week? And explain to me,
because I was coaching a UFC champion all through her fight camp. So Zhang Wei Li was defending her belt, and I was part of her camp. And her camp is a very exclusive thing. There's only 5 of us in her camp, and only 2 of us are her actual training partners, a striker and a grappler. There's a third, I guess, who kind of pops in and out. But yeah, maybe 3 of us. So if one of us disappears, it's a big blow to the camp. It's a big hindrance. That's a big issue. So I was with her, and she had her fight on I forgot the date, but it was 2 weeks before Masters was her fight. So I had 1 week of prep, of training back in San Diego, and then the next week was the competition, which we drove up on Wednesday.
Yeah, that's a huge mental challenge, like for those people who don't compete at high, or any sport really, or high level, like to be able to stay in that winning mindset with a week's prep where you know you haven't necessarily, well, you did enough, or you had enough already, but to sort of get out of your own head. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've only done a week's prep, I'm probably going to lose, like having that.
Yeah, and the fact that it was a 75 plus man bracket.
Yeah.
Right, which was a lot of matches. It was actually the biggest bracket I've ever done in my life. I've never had 6 matches before like that. 5 was the most I had had. And yeah, it was definitely a challenge to keep yourself in a positive, productive mindset and not kind of succumb to the doubts that could creep into your mind.
How did you overcome that mentally?
I think Alval always kind of just taught me that, you know, if you have to kind of proactively shut down your negative thoughts, like acknowledge that they're entering your mind, acknowledge that they're happening, understand what's happening. It's normal. It's a normal process. You're not different because you have negative thoughts. It's super normal for everybody. But you have to recognize what's happening and recognize the fact that you can control it. And you can literally, what he taught me is to actually tell that voice in your head, that doubtful voice, that's shut up. Say, shut up. I'm going to win. And just be very proactive about what you're going to do and kind of manifest it. Manifest your reality. And I don't really believe in manifesting in the literal sense, but if you practice keeping yourself positive, I think you generally have better outcomes.
You're on the front foot.
What do you think, Ian Bone?
I think self-belief is definitely a good lesson. And I suppose hanging around people like Whaley, and that would be helpful. Obviously, Andre's probably a real helpful person to hang around.
Yeah, he's very too. But I think at the mindset.
For the average student, we sometimes have this self-deprecating kind of like, you know, self-hate for our own jiu-jitsu, and it can be really damaging for people that would like to be better at jiu-jitsu. Yeah. Is you have to knock out that self-taught, I can do this, I've had a bad day, it doesn't mean jiu-jitsu's bad, all those things. It's a pretty important lesson for the average practitioner. Yeah. You know, especially if you want to enjoy the journey a little bit more.
Right. Negative self-talk is super normal.
Yeah.
Not even just in sports, but I think sports generally pull it out of us a little.
Yeah. Well, it's emotional based, isn't it, I suppose?
Right. And especially if you have a competition you're going into, it's very easy to recognize all of your shortcomings before you enter this competition. And then, of course, you generally give, I think, a little too much mental energy to your opponents, you know, and think, oh, wow, he looks really big, or he looks really scary, or looks really tough. And what I've learned over the years is the dudes that look the most scary are generally not the toughest. And it's the dudes that don't look scary that are the toughest. So you really just can't judge anyone by how they look. And I haven't done that for years, but I know a lot of people do.
Yeah. Well, you look at like jiu-jitsu attracts a lot of those people, those like, I call them like basement gamers. Like they wear glasses.
Yeah,
they're like
nerds,
pasty skin.
Nerds.
If you're not a nerd, you might become one real fast.
Yep.
I think it's what people just don't really know how to do is how effective and useful it is to give yourself positive talk.
Yeah.
Right. I know I'm good at jiu-jitsu. I have had a long career. So based on my historical records, I knew I could win. Obviously, the last times that I won Master Worlds, I definitely had more preparation. But like I was talking to one of my teammates, and I was kind of telling him, I said, I'm not worried about whether I'm capable of winning. It's whether I can win 6 matches in a row on limited cardio. And so I was trying to be much more efficient with my time on the mats. So anytime I took the back, I didn't really try to choke them in a nice way. I just made a body triangle, bellied them down and squeezed them, and then cross-faced them. And that seemed to get a tap out of them much quicker than actually trying to fight for a nice collar choke and get a technical-looking bow and arrow.
Yeah, expending energy that you didn't necessarily have. Yeah. So you just adapted your game, I guess.
And definitely great advice for mixed martial arts competitors out there to hit that body triangle and belly down people is much better than hanging out trying to submit them while they're on top of you and you're underneath.
Yeah.
Do you feel like getting that extra point of view by coaching Whaley helped push you towards that, or you just enjoy that kind of top game anyway?
Yeah, I don't know, actually. I mean,
don't know if you're influenced.
Yeah, I don't think she actually. Because to be honest, I'm always telling her to body triangle people, and she won't do it.
Yeah,
she has like stubby legs. Her thighs are really thick and strong, and they're short. And so, because she's always training with me, I'm quite large compared to her. She can't body triangle me.
Is there a chance she's going to listen to this?
No.
And she'll feel bad. She'll be like, Coach, I'm trying.
I told her. We've had this argument. Yeah. I told her, I said, look, you need to train with smaller people because you need to be able to do things to their small bodies that you can't do to my larger body.
Yep.
You can't body triangle me, but I brought my wife with us the last camp, or 2 camps ago, and I said, you can use her. Strangle my wife, please. Yeah. Strangle her.
And it does make sense, for fighters out there that are maybe putting together camps instead of maybe having 2 people. At old Frank Shamrock idea of having someone that's a little bit better than you, a little bit worse than you, and that equal force as well is a really good formula to finding training partners. And I suppose for anyone just doing jiu-jitsu out there, remember when you roll and take a hard roll, take an easy roll, and take a roll somewhere in between, because you're going to develop different parts of your game by doing those 3 things.
Yeah. And I think having someone that has a similar body type, if you have a specific opponent that you're going to face, if they're tall and thin, lanky, you need to have that, because a tall, lanky person in jiu-jitsu is very different from short, stubby person in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Very, very different. The way you can grab a guillotine on a short, stubby person is very different from how you can grab it on a tall person.
Yeah.
And I told Wei Li this too, because she kept on working that crucifix position on me, but it's very easy to stay on me because I'm big. She can be really tight. And she tried to do it to Carla, and if you go watch that fight, she had the crucifix in the first round, and Carla slipped her arm right out.
Yeah.
Because her arm is significantly shorter and smaller than mine. And I told her, you got to stay tight. But if you don't have that actual body to work with, it's hard.
Do you specifically jiu-jitsu camps, because you got multiple matches? Like if you're training for whatever tournament it is, and you're going to have multiple matches, are you training with guys? Are you prioritizing training with guys that will be in your division, or are you prioritizing training with guys that know holes in your game, or like that then can push you to refine it, or both equally valuable?
There's not too many people that can exploit the holes in my game. There's maybe 3.
Yeah.
On Earth.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm just kidding. Really, it's like only like Lucas, Kynan, Galvao.
Yeah.
They can really the only ones. Ronaldo. They're really high level, competitors at Atos. They're the only ones capable of doing that. But I actually don't train with them that much anymore. I don't even go to the competition training anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
Because they moved it to 7 a.m. and I hate waking up early, so I just don't go. I go to the regular 9 a.m. class and I go to the 6 p.m. class.
Yep.
But like I was talking to my buddy before the competition, and I was telling him how nervous I was about not having great cardio, and he said, it's in your bones. And that kind of resonated with me. And I was like, you know what? I have done a lot of really intense training camps, like 9 years of intense training camps, back to back to back to back. And I've told people before, one training camp, the training camp you do for a specific competition that camp is not just benefiting you for that specific competition. That camp is going to be with you forever.
Yeah, if you don't become a slob in between, that kind of training camp mentality whether it be for jiu-jitsu athletes or MMA athletes when they're starting, is really dangerous, because it means that you only train hard every now and then. You'd be better off just being consistent.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
With a couple of hard sessions thrown in every now and then, rather than I'm going to do 12 weeks and build up to this really hard, crazy thing. And then it's
and then jump off.
And then all of a sudden you believe this belief system that you need 12 weeks to get ready for something, rather than your life makes you ready for it. You know, your lifestyle of consistency. And
better to stay at a medium level of preparedness and then just ramp up for 3 or 4 weeks to do a competition, and then just kind of cruise back down into that mid-level preparation.
100%.
Like maintenance level.
Yeah. Because when you talk to somebody, you know, I can't remember which boxer it was, but one of these boxers was saying, it was a tennis player. He talked about having one block of chocolate in 12 months. That was his cheating. It was that level of commitment. It wasn't that he was setting up to do training camps for all these tennis tournaments. It was that his life was to be the best tennis player on the planet. So everything that he did revolved around that, you know. So, you know, for those of you that really want to be good competitors or want to make money out of jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai or boxing or tennis, it's really going to be a lifestyle that sets you apart from it, right?
100%. And if you want an example of this, you can go check out Zhang Weili's Instagram account, because it was 1 week after her fight or something, there was a video of her out running 10 kilometers. Man. Because she just can't not do it. You know, you can't. It's resting is the exception to the rule, right?
Yeah.
And
necessary rest.
The rule in general is just stay prepared all year and always be training, always be in shape. You can take 2 weeks off after a big fight, but then you're back on the horse, whether you have something on the schedule or not. You just get back into your routine, you stay in your routine. This is your job.
Yeah.
You know, and you treat it like a job. 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. You know?
Definitely. She's a machine too. I've seen her finish crazy hard training sessions at Buntail, and then you'll going to get something to eat or something like that, and then you'll see her just running.
Yeah. But for her it's probably very easy, because it's just her routine. Yeah. And it's hard at first to build the routine. Yeah. But once you build the routine, you just got to maintain it. It's much easier.
Just getting up and doing it. Yeah.
Which is something that you really want your students to do. It's hey, if you're going to be a 3-a-week jiu-jitsu guy, girl, kid, then be a 3-a-weeker. That's your life. You do 3 a week forever, and you'll get great. Yeah. You've seen people train 3-4 days a week, get really great at jiu-jitsu, but you want to make sure that you use that time wisely, not sooking on the mat, positive attitude, all those things.
Yeah, if you're not going to have the quality, if you're not going to have the quantity of training, you definitely need to have the quality, right? And that's kind of where I'm at. I don't want quantity anymore. I just want quality. I want to show up, hammer it out for 2 hours, and then that's it. I'm done. I'm not trying to, it really irks me when people say, oh, this is my 4th training today. And it's what does that mean, actually? Yeah. Your 4th training today? You're
showed up twice, showed up for 2 and trained for 2 others.
Yeah, I just don't understand what that means. It's to me, a training session is warm up, exercise, cool down, shower, eat. Yes. That's a complete cycle of a training session, right? And if you can't do that 4 times in one day, you know what I mean? So basically, are they just counting hours? Are you trying to say this is your 4th hour of training? Yeah. And if you're drilling, does that count as training? Are you saying training and drilling is training? Because I don't call training drilling. Yeah. Drilling training. This drilling is drilling. Training is I'm trying to choke you, you're trying to choke me, we're both giving an honest effort. Yeah. That's training. Drilling is just going through motions. Being in class and watching someone teach, that's not training. You're not training. You're sitting there watching someone else train. Yeah. You know what I mean? You're not training. Training is what all these people are doing right now. Throwing punches and kicks at each other. Yeah.
Sparring and shit.
Yeah, it's light sparring. It doesn't have to be hard training, right? It can be light training, but they're training. They're throwing punches and kicks at each other. Yeah.
Actual, as close as you can to the real thing, I suppose.
Yeah, they're not trying to hurt each other, but they're giving an honest effort to do everything well with an actively resisting opponent.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
That's always an important thing. honest effort.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have to be. One day your level of effort might be different to other days, as long as it's an honest effort, your best effort. You came in feeling bad, you didn't have the best training session, but you gave an honest effort.
Yeah, it's honest to yourself. Like, you leave there and you think, oh, I could have done more. That's like the most sickening feeling ever. I hate it, eh?
Yeah.
Even a bad training day is a good day of training.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because you showed up and you did it, even when you didn't want to do it. And even when you feel like shit, you can still give your best.
100%,
and your best on a bad day may not be the same as your best on a good day, but you can still give your best on the bad day. And it might be 60% of what your normal best is, but that's okay because on that day, it was the best you could do and you couldn't do more. And that's honest work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you can be proud of that. You can be proud. You can be extra proud of the fact that you gave your best on a day that you felt like shit.
You didn't want to be there. You felt shit.
Yeah, but you still gave your best.
All of my favorite martial artists I think I've ever met all know how to either train or compete in deficit. You know, and I think it's definitely, it's almost like a cultural thing for jiu-jitsu should be that, like, we accept that sometimes we have to do things from deficit, whether it be training, competing.
You're very rarely at 100%.
You know, well, that's what absolute divisions are all about. You're like signing up for something that you're willing to do in deficit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, which is crazy that it kind of like it exists. It's possibly one of the only sports where we're like, look,
kind of
just
is,
for this division,
just for
we're
shits
going
and
to just
giggles.
forget all weight classes, you know, and it becomes this freak show event. And over the years, the absolute competitors have been in a group, probably getting bigger, but you'll still see small people taking it out.
Yeah,
you know, which is still very impressive that's happening. Whether it be Worlds or World Masters, I'm still absolutely impressed by absolute divisions and the guts to do them, you know?
I very rarely see anyone smaller than a middleweight, which is 81.5 kilos.
Yeah.
That's what I'm at right now. That's the smallest I've ever really consistently seen people do absolutes. I never see the lightweights, featherweights, roosterweights, never. On occasion, it happens. It does, but it's very rare. Usually it's middleweight and up. But yeah, it is. It doesn't really happen in other sports, huh? Like,
I didn't think of that.
Can you even name a single other sport that does absolute categories?
No, look. There's parts of it that I find amazing, and there's other parts of it that I'm like, well, if these 60-kilo guys aren't doing it, like, good for you, because longevity is really important. It is still
reasonably dangerous. Like, if you just start talking about like 110-kilo dudes fighting a 60-odd-kilo guy.
Oh, when I'm going up against an ultra heavyweight, I'm in like self-preservation mode. Yeah, I'm not trying to get broken. Yeah, I'm trying to just get through this match without getting hurt.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't even contemplate that till you just said that. Didn't even realise. And it is at the back. It's always at the back end too. So like, you've done your whole division, and if you've done well, you've won that. So you've had minimum 3 matches.
There's no good place to put it. You put it at the beginning of the comp, and then that might put you out of your actual division.
Right.
It almost needs to be a separate day.
You know, everybody loves to say how they would run a tournament better and this, that, and everything else, but very few people are actually willing to get out there and run that tournament.
Yeah.
Well, it's a trip at the World Championships for black belt. Actually, you do go through the absolute divisions first. Yeah, they run the absolute division Saturday morning.
And you compete in your division.
And the weight class is split between Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
The last 2 matches are on Sunday. Depends. Sometimes they'll do the last 3. Sometimes they'll do quarters, semis, and finals on Sunday. But the 2 qualifiers are on Saturday. And they run the entire absolute division on Saturday up to the finals. And they save the finals for the end. But all the way up through the semifinals, you have to do the absolute if you want to do it on Saturday. Yeah. So sometimes, you'll have to do all of them in the same day. Yeah.
Jesus.
It is crazy.
At that level it is. Because they're like, you're talking 10-minute matches and like elite level dudes.
Yeah. It's
like you're going 110% the whole time.
Well, it is the most prestigious title you can have in the gi, so I guess it makes sense that you should have to do some crazy shit. Huh?
And you've gone back to like the gi a bit more now.
What's that?
You've gone back to the gi a bit more now, you were saying. You never really left it, I suppose.
I've always competed in the gi. Yeah, I don't have a preference.
I guess everyone just knows you as a no-gi guy.
Right. I've just been doing no-gi longer, and I've just had a lot more success because I have more experience. I did about 4 years of wrestling and 7 years of no-gi jiu-jitsu before I ever put a gi on.
Yeah.
I love the fact that this debate's never going to leave the sport of jiu-jitsu, because I really enjoy it. I enjoy watching like little bits of tribalism, like people that like love no gi or love gi, but it's real interesting to me because I think one can make you better than others, and now there's people coming out just saying that's crap, and I'm like, well, let's put it this way: if you're a no gi guy and you're willing to do CrossFit to get better at jiu-jitsu, surely you're willing to do some resisted grappling,
right?
In a gi, if specificity is everything. But I do love the tribal nature of it.
Yeah.
What do you think, Josh? Because obviously you enjoy both, and now you're doing some MMA jiu-jitsu too, which I think is which is cool. And big ups to Whaley's camp for having you along for that.
Well, I actually started MMA jiu-jitsu when I first began. That was what I did when I joined. It was an MMA gym, and we did MMA training, and everything was top heavy. I like talking about it because I like doing both. So, I have nothing to hide. And the reason I actually put a gi on ever for the first time, because I used to be this no-gi charlatan, I guess would be the word. As a charlatan, and I was always arguing and preaching about how no-gi is better and it's more pure and it's more realistic, blah, blah, blah. You know the arguments.
I do.
And then I said, you know what? I'm so confident that my no-gi is good that I'm going to put this gi on and beat the gi guys with my no-gi jiu-jitsu. Still using a wrist grip, still using a collar tie. I'm not going to use the gi grips.
Yep.
And that's why I put it on, just to kind of prove a point. And I just ended up enjoying it. I just thought, it was super fun. It's kind of like you can cheat,
Yeah.
In no-gi, you're cheating if you grab the shorts. But here we can do it, we can grab it, we can wrap it. And I just thought it was just super fun. And I just feel really bad for the people who don't do it.
Yeah.
Because you're missing out. You're missing out on something that's very fun and very cool and creative.
They're almost incomparable. They have comparisons in like skills, but like to compare them both one over the top of the other, it's not. I don't think it works.
We now have a timetable where you could train no-gi at our gym absolutely every day if you want, or gi at our gym absolutely every day if you wanted.
Yeah.
But what I've noticed
that's perfect.
The people who are the best grapplers in the room are the ones that aren't caught by the dogma of liking something more than the other.
Yeah.
Because they don't use what's in front of them. It's almost like a mindset.
I don't believe that people say, I just don't like it. I don't believe that.
If you like jiu-jitsu, you like both. I don't
believe it. I think it's bullshit. I think they don't like losing.
Yeah.
And they're losing because they don't do it. And if they were to put it on, they're going to have to go through that phase of losing in the beginning before they can adapt.
Yeah.
And I definitely lean that way too. Like most of the people that have a problem with it, it's actually because their problem is they're a mad scrambler and they're good at scrambling, but the gi grips take it out a little bit. Or they have a very poor scramble game and they don't have the energy for it. They're a little bit lazy, so they like to pull guard and wrap people up.
No-gi's helped my gi game immensely. Just with it, like being able to keep stuff and be tight. Like it's helped me so much.
Imagine this. Imagine you take this no-gi only guy and you put a gi on him. And somehow, in some magical way, he just fucks up everybody. Imagine that. Imagine he just grabs the sleeves, grabs the collars, and just somehow he's just trashing everybody and winning. You think he's not going to like that? You think it's going to be like, I don't want to do this. I'm going to take this gi off. I don't like it. If you put that gi on and you were winning all the rounds, you would love it and you would keep doing it.
Yeah.
That's how I know I'm right.
Yeah, 100%.
If they won every match, they would have fun because winning is fun. Strangling people is fun. Dominating people is fun. If they could win all the matches with their gi on, they would keep it on and they would keep doing it.
Exactly.
So I know I'm right.
Yeah. And it's transferable too. It's a transfer.
We're definitely hurting a few feelings.
Yeah. I don't care. I don't care because I was that guy and I changed. And I enjoy training in the gi more than I do no gi. But if I need to win money, I'm going to put, it's no gi, right? I just have more experience, I have a better, more refined system, and I'm more confident that I can win. So if there's money on the line, I'm doing no gi. But I enjoy training in the gi more. It's more fun. It's more enjoyable.
Yeah. I agree with that, I think. And like the skills are transferable too, because you're a perfect example of skills being transferable to gi and no gi. Marigali, like another guy that's just sort of walked in and started putting the gi on, and
Marigali's been doing jiu-jitsu forever. It's like you can't be. I mean,
it's sort of different, I guess.
I mean, through every belt, he was a top level competitor. You know, of course, he's going to do well.
Yeah.
But I just feel bad. I feel bad for people. If you're stuck in one or the other, you're just missing out, man. You're missing out. And it's kind of a tragedy, because if I could go back and do it all over again, I would do both from the very beginning.
I think it also preps you to move cities. Let's just imagine you have to move cities for work, or mum or dad's sick and you want to be near them. What if that club just down the road is just gi? Or maybe it's those weird 10th Planet guys.
Yeah.
You know, like you want to be able to get in there and train with them anyway.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's 100%. The same with like at least learning a little bit of mat etiquette and manners. So you can feel welcome in any club.
Yeah, as long as you don't stop doing jiu-jitsu, I think like most coaches and stuff will endorse that, I reckon.
It's one of the reasons why I really endorse seminars, cross-training, traveling on holidays, jiu-jitsu camps. I've definitely, I've done one with Josh. I've done a couple with other athletes and whatnot as well. Training in environments with other coaches and things, you're like helping your students prepare for, if they move cities, being part of the wider community and helping them get their black belts. Because if you want to get your black belt, you have to keep your nose to the books, so to speak.
Yeah. And actually, the experience I had, the first team I was a part of, I didn't leave that team. That team literally disintegrated.
Yeah.
The leadership left town, the head athletes split and fractured, and the whole thing just fell apart and disintegrated. And I was literally just kind of left there like, what do I do now? You know, I didn't know if I could go to another gym. I didn't know if they would welcome me, or if they would hate me, or if they would try to hurt me. This was in 2006.
Yeah, I was going to say, when was it?
Still quite early in the evolution of the sport. And I didn't think I could. So I just quit. Yeah, I quit training. And that's exactly what you're saying. People should try to avoid.
It's my fear. I would much rather people go somewhere else if they're unhappy, not a good fit for the team or anything. I would rather that they keep training and hopefully get some kind of like health or extra life enjoyment out of training. Especially if you're running all right business, you're going to get new students anyway. They're the ones you want. You don't want to force square people into a round hole.
Did you? Sorry, you go.
No, go.
Oh, sorry. I thought. Just circling back onto you going. When did you go to Atos?
Andre came to me, actually.
Because did you go? Sorry, I'm just trying to work out the timeline. Did you go back to college?
I went to graduate school.
That's right.
Yeah, I went to graduate school in Indiana, which is Midwest USA. Yep. And Andre he won ADCC in 2011, and the first seminar he did was at an affiliate academy that was 30 minutes from where I was living. Yeah. And so I had been training with this guy that runs this academy, Tim Sled. And he had Andre come out. This was the first American affiliate academy that Andre had in the United States. And this guy was, I think, his first American black belt. He came and did the seminar there first. And but he had won double gold at ADCC, so that's where I met him. That was the first time I met Andre. And actually, the training session that we had is on YouTube. Yeah, you can.
The first one?
Yeah, the very first one that Andre and I ever did together.
Yeah, wow.
Well, there was a seminar. We trained in the seminar. And then after the seminar was over and everybody left, him and I stayed back and trained about 30 minutes, gi pants, and Rashi. Yeah.
Were you a black belt then? No.
No, I was brown belt.
Yeah.
Yeah, Andre gave me the 4 stripes on my brown belt. After I joined Atos, after he beat me in training, I decided that this person shall be my coach.
Yep.
And I asked him, I said, hey, can I be on your team? And I didn't have a coach at the time. And he said yes. And I went to Nogi Pans as a brown belt and represented Autos. And then he came back the next year, gave me 4 stripes, pop, 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 all at once.
Oh, wow. Did you win Nogi Pans?
I got third. But I had been, I broke the guy's arm who took first, actually, but he won by points. Yeah, but I'd already been a brown belt for 2 years, so I was overdue, and I could smash black belts like no problem. So I think it was 3 years I had been a brown belt. Anyways, got 4 stripes, and then 1 year later, the black belt, and that was 2013.
Yeah.
So, while we're talking about black belts, what is a jiu-jitsu black belt?
Cool.
I have a better question. What is a woman? Just kidding. No. Relax. Calm down. Everybody calm down. Don't get upset. It's funny because we were just talking about it at breakfast.
Have you seen the documentary? We won't go
there. Don't do it, Wade. Don't do it. If we start going down that slope, we're not going to come back.
We'll stick to things that we might know something about.
A black belt.
This is a good question. A
black belt. Okay, well, Keenan and I had this discussion once, and Keenan's a very smart guy, actually, despite how stupid he sounds sometimes. Originally, there was only 2 belts. You were a white belt until you were a black belt.
In BJJ?
I think this is before BJJ. This is like Kodokan or judo or something like that. Like it was like that. Your white belt is so old and dirty that it looks black, right? You were a white belt, and if I'm wrong, you guys can call out Keenan because he's the one who told me this. But it was like you're white all the way until you're black, and when you're black, it means you are a good teacher. You're able to teach now. And so that, to me, is what a black belt is. Someone who can teach competently with, I guess a general... You don't have to be a world champion. You don't have to be the guy who can beat everybody, but you have to be the guy who can intelligently communicate the techniques and the reasons why we do the techniques to someone who doesn't know them. That's a black belt to me. Your ability to teach is what the black belt represents, not your ability to execute.
It's nice.
But if you can't execute, do you really understand the techniques? It's part of it. You need to be able to do them for sure. Otherwise, I doubt whether you actually know them.
Yeah. Well, so a side question to that then, I guess, is something that all 3 of us have discussed before is, do you think that you need to compete to progress?
You don't need to, but I believe it accelerates your progression massively. And what Galvao told me back a long time ago was that 1 day of competition is like 50 days of training in your gym. Can you remember your training session from exactly 9 weeks ago? Can you remember any of the training sessions you did 9 weeks ago?
Not without trying really hard.
Can you remember your last competition and exactly how it went down?
Every single match.
Every moment of that competition is burned into your brain. I can remember every loss I've ever had.
Yeah.
I've had over 200, maybe 250 black belt matches. I was doing like 80 a year for a few years, 70 or 80 matches a year. I can remember all of the losses.
It definitely heightens the experience. I'm a big advocator of it, but I understand not everybody wanting to do it. Generally, my speech to my students is once a year or once a belt level, even if you're scared, if you want this to affect your life in a positive way, you want to be able to do scary things. And if you are training for self-defense, for Christ's sake, don't tell people you're training for self-defense if you're too scared to do a comp. You must stress test your self-defense. Yeah. And a comp is such a safe, competitive scenario. And when they grab those grips, they're 10 times harder than when they would normally be in
the dude's trying to actually hurt you.
The muscle twitches are so much more prominent in competition.
So, I think if there's people out there that might be possibly listening to this and you're like, I just hate competing, do it anyway because you hate it. But do it like you love it for either for your club or for the art or for yourself.
It's the Goggins mentality.
Yeah.
Do the thing. Yeah.
It's definitely, I think, beneficial. I always tell my guys, if you never want to do it, that's fine, but don't get grumpy about a belt that takes you 3 to 5 years to get there.
You have to callous your mind.
Yeah.
Even if like all these stripes, right? You get 3-4 stripes that tells you you're better than most of the white belts or blue belts on the mat. Maybe that's the time to go compete. Just sandbag everyone. Get out there at your peak and prove that you earn that next belt.
Yeah. I agree.
Which I think is a fun thing to do, right? Like if it doesn't have any suffering, if you get to choose how you do your journey and everything else, you're really going to miss out on the benefits of like listening to the lessons that your coach give you. I'm sure you've learned things from Andre that have nothing to do with the technical aspects of jiu-jitsu, that you surrendered to just going, okay, well, if I just do what he tells me to now, my life's going to be better.
Yeah. He's always told us, compete as much as possible, compete as much as possible, compete as much as possible. And it really is a very difficult thing to be good at, competing.
Yeah.
But once you do feel more comfortable with the process of competing, it is a very enjoyable thing.
Yeah.
I do really enjoy it. And it's very hard for me to let it go, as I'm getting older and more banged up and I can't do so many training camps at the intensity that I would like to. I will miss competing when I'm old. I will miss it a lot. And they've been some of the most terrifying moments of my life,
Yeah.
But I think any moment that can be burned into your memory with so much detail, any kind of experience, assuming it's not like a traumatic experience, right?
Yeah.
It's worth having. It's worth doing, If I can tell you, you're going to remember this for the rest of your life. Probably your first jiu-jitsu competition will be something you can remember for the rest of your life. I remember my first wrestling match in high school. The very first one I ever did. I was terrified.
Yeah.
I got destroyed. They put me on the varsity squad. The guy just beat my ass. And I was 14 years old, man. That was...
Yeah.
I can't... How many years ago was that? I don't know, almost 25? More than 25 years ago. I can still remember it.
There's two different types of people, though, too, in that exact situation. There's people that will never touch it again, of any description, of any sort of, call it combat sports or martial arts or whatever you want to do, or there's people that will just like go down the rabbit hole and just want to improve on that.
I mean, if you're losing in the gym, is it really that big a deal that you're losing at the white or blue belt local comp?
No one cares.
Everybody loses.
No one actually cares.
No one cares.
People think people cares, and you know what? The people that do care, they don't matter.
Yeah.
No.
The people that do care, they don't matter.
And
I've never once been disappointed in one of my students and how they competed as a jiu-jitsu athlete. Not once. Not
just going there and signing up. So
the coaches of all the people who are going to watch your competition match, your coach understands better than anybody what it feels like to go to a competition and have that anxiety and stress and the emotions and the mat fog.
Yeah.
People go into these matches, they come out and they're like, I don't even know what happened. It was just all a big blur, a big adrenaline blur.
Yeah.
Adrenaline fueled blur.
That's the controlling that, sort of going sideways, but controlling that adrenaline dump. And you only get that through repetition, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really get nervous in jiu-jitsu comps because I've had boxing matches and MMA and bits and pieces. And then I go into a jiu-jitsu match, so I feel good until I clinch.
Yeah.
And then I get a massive adrenaline dump. And it's not scared. It's just like I'm fucked because, like, I've had that big adrenaline rush and now I'm cooked.
I think that's why a lot of people will win the first match and lose the second.
Yeah.
It's very common, right? Because you just gave that first match everything you had, and then you get that dump, and you're like, then you have nothing for the second match.
Yeah, but when I was competing consistently, and obviously not near the level of you two, but like when I was competing consistently, it was way easier. I don't know. I feel like it just happens. Like you just end up being able to deal with it better.
Yeah, I hated competing, man. I hated it all the way up to until I finally won a competition. And then I had this confidence that I could carry with me to the next competition. And then I did better in the next competition.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, it was just because I had this confidence from the last competition that I finally believed in myself, said, I can do this. I do belong here. And then I had a little bit more success. And then maybe later that year, I won the first Nogi Worlds.
Yeah.
Right. And then boom, my confidence was way up here. I beat some tough guys that I thought I honestly couldn't beat. But you go out, you do your best, and you know, lucky for me, it worked out that day. But that confidence that I got, I took it to the whole next year of competition. And I had 80 matches in 2017 with like I don't know, 80% submission rate.
Yeah.
It was, you know,
that's the highest too. I think that there's a stat for that. I'm pretty sure.
I think
it's up there.
Yeah, submission only guys kind of cheat because their win rate is always 100% submission. Because in a submission only match, you win or you lose by submission. Well, the submission rate is only total wins divided by total submissions. Or vice versa, if I said that wrong. So the losses don't count. So a submission-only grappler will always have 100% submission win rate because they don't have the option to lose by points. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, I think Craig was always up in the upper echelon of those rankings because of that reason.
Submission grappling.
Yeah.
The wins too, like through losses, like the wins are way more inflated, like the value of them and how they feel and all that sort of. They're super significant or more significant through loss, I think. Like they wouldn't feel as good if you just won every match. Do you think?
Who?
Like anybody. So say you won every single match from 14 wrestling to now. Like, do you think you'd still even be competing? Would you just be bored of it? There'd be no challenge.
There's a thing that happens when for people who keep winning, that winning is no longer enjoyable for them. It's just the standard quote.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I think defeats the purpose.
Yeah, it's not a good thing.
No.
Yeah. There's a few kids that train with us who are really phenomenal, and they're just satisfied if they win because they know everyone expected them to win. So they don't actually get any kind of like positive feelings from it or positive reinforcement.
Sort of need a loss.
It's just like, oh yeah, we expected you to win and you won. Cool, good job. We see this happen all the time.
Yeah, right.
But when they lose, it's like, oh, they feel it. You know, they really feel the loss.
Yeah, definitely. My advice to most people is you should be almost the same as when your kids win as when they lose.
Yeah, that would be good, I think.
And really tell them, good effort today.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
And they lost. And then guess what you say when they win? You don't make a big deal of it. You go, good effort today.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
You know?
So
they understand that the effort being part of the process is where it is, because they're going to have to drive their own motivation. This whole attaboy kind of stuff for anything but effort is actually a waste of time.
Participation medals and shit.
Well, even parading wins, sometimes that kid was 2 years older in their division. You're pumping them up.
Yeah.
They just beat a kid that's 2 years younger than them.
Yeah.
Smaller or whatever,
You know, whatever else. They don't need it. They just need a good effort.
Yeah.
That's it, you know. They've got to find their own motivation.
Yeah.
I listened to this very interesting podcast about the growth mindset. And they did all these studies, really well-designed scientific studies on performance and motivation and how you talk to children. And if you congratulate them based on the outcomes, they generally become shittier humans, as opposed to if you congratulate them on their effort. If you congratulate them on their effort, no matter what the outcome is, they will always strive to just give a good effort because that's the reward they got from you, right? The reinforcement that they got. But if you just praise them for their accomplishment when they do well, actually they turn into liars and cheaters.
Yeah.
Because they know the outcome is what the adult was praising. And so they'll just do anything they have to do to get the outcome, whether it was honest or not honest.
Yeah, and who wants a sporting team full of liars and cheaters?
Exactly.
Super interesting. I mean, it just impacted these kids. Like, I almost thought it was unethical to run this. I was like, who are the kids that you're giving this
to? Yeah.
This if you're reinforcing the accomplishment, you're providing a disservice to these kids who are part of the experiment. It's almost unethical.
Well, hopefully they only just did it over a short period of time.
Hopefully, because you might have just fucked these kids up.
I've got like life experience with that with my old man, because I used to compete in like so many sports. I was a sport addict, and he never used to like tell me what I did good. He'd always say like good work or good effort or whatever, but he'd always identify the mistakes that I made. And at the time, I hated it. I was like, you're a fucking asshole.
You don't appreciate anything.
No, nothing.
He's just typical dad, just trying to help.
Yeah.
Ruining the whole sporting experience.
Yeah. But I was too busy trying to chase like praise for nothing really, because he was being truthful. Like, these are the things that you did wrong. And I was like, right. But it helped me because I was motivated to go like, all right, fuck you, old man. I won't make that mistake again. Or I'll show you I'll be better next match or next comp and stuff.
Definitely a hard thing being a parent. Let's just remind everyone, Yeah, I definitely got 2 martial arts kids.
You've got like 40 of them.
It's difficult.
Yeah. I have kids, but they're not my kids.
It's not easy, but it's well worth it.
Yes. What time have we
we're 10 after 11.
10, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
We've got to wrap it up.
We better. Yeah, you got to put a gi on and teach this seminar.
Get ready to teach some strangles.
Yes. Thank you both very much for your time. It was a quick, jam-packed little episode.
Yeah, it was good.
I think it'll be fun. I think some people will find some value out of that. It's definitely been fun having you in Australia, Josh, so we do appreciate your time, and I have enjoyed lots of these little talks. It's one of my favourite things to do. Sit down and
chat shit.
Martial arts, It's good fun.
Well, I've got one every year now that I know he's coming back.
Yeah. No, I'm going to come back again soon. I'll bring my wife and we'll stay for much longer.
Training with you as well, Wade. It's been good fun.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And thanks so much for both of you for being so accommodating.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Good.